Well, do you have any questions before we begin?
What is the nature of your questions?
Okay. Just talk a little bit about the new album and
Which one?
the prophecies.
Oh, you've actually heard of that here.
Yes, I've heard of it. Unfortunately, I haven't got it yet, but I have heard of it.
It hasn't been released in the States yet.
Oh, really?
Yes, I mean, you must have heard of it via the import market.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had talked to somebody at a record store that gets a lot of imports in that.
Well, that's encouraging to know that people are now hearing about a record that hasn't even been released yet and probably won't be released for at least a month.
Oh, well, I'm really anxious to hear it.
I'm very excited about the record and everything that it's doing to people because they seem to be enthralled by it. So.
I also wanted to let you know that if there's anything that you feel like uncomfortable about, answering or anything,
Sure.
then that's very fine. I'll just scratch it right off the list and it's no problem.
Okay.
So I want it to be a very loose interview and, like I said, anything you don't want to answer, then that's completely fine by me.
Okay.
Okay?
I like to hear that.
Okay, well, are you going to go on tour when this new album comes out?
We're planning on touring, I think it's July, early August, in the U.S.
In the U.S.?
We've just come off of tour, actually. I've only been back for 4 days.
Really?
From European tour.
How did that go over there?
Probably the best tour we've ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. Do you think you'd come to Pittsburgh when you come to the States to tour?
Well, the last tour we did, we had a show in Pittsburgh.
And the booking agent messed it up, huh? The promoter.
Along those lines. I think it was either the booking agent or the local promoters just didn't come through with what they were supposed to.
Yeah, I think it was the local promoter from what I heard.
And I had nothing to do with my decision, but between our management and between our agent, they decided that it wasn't in our best interest to go there and do the show.
Sure. Well, I hope maybe this time around, maybe Pittsburgh will be good for you, because I know there's a lot of people here that would really love to see you.
Oh, I've never been to Pittsburgh, so I'd like to go myself.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to places where I haven't been.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I have another question for you. On Gothic Rock 2 compilation from Cleopatra,
Yes.
there's the Divine Enigmas on there, and it was previously unreleased, and I was wondering if this is the only thing that it's on, or are you going to put it on like the Prophecies or anything, or?
Well, it's only on the Gothic Rock 2, which was actually released through Jungle Records in England originally, and then they licensed it to Cleopatra.
Okay.
That's a one-off thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
How did you meet Stephen Flick?
Well, we met Steve through auditions, and Flick was introduced to us through Steve.
Were they in any previous bands before joining you?
Not of any notoriety.
Sure. Okay. How about Maitri? What was she? Was she involved with anything before?
Maitri was actually we come in contact with her through some people that we were working with in Holland. And she had quite a reputation locally in Holland.
Sure.
And so that's where we were, introduced to her, was because we go to Europe a lot, and so Holland is one of our favorite places, and we've got a lot of friends, and well, we've always had a lot of friends. Now we've actually got a base in Holland, so we've had a long period of establishing ourselves in Holland with many different people, even though that the general public, it's not one of the best places for us to play and get a lot of people. As far as other countries are concerned, Holland is still one of our favorite places.
Sure.
What I mean by that is we could play to 3 times as many people in Paris, what we usually play to in Holland. The nature of Holland is they're more into techno and aggressive music. They're more into real hardcore techno. That's where Holland is.
Do you get into any of that at all? Any of that techno?
Well, I like everything, but we're not extremely hardcore and we're not extremely techno, so
right.
we don't draw a lot of people in Holland, as opposed to other places.
Okay. Besides being in like Pompeii 99, what else have you done besides Christian Death?
Pompeii 99 is Christian.
Is it Christian Death?
It was Christian. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, somebody told me it was like a pre-Christian Death type thing.
I was never in any other bands.
No other bands?
No.
Who have been some major influences on you?
I haven't got anybody anybody in particular.
No.
I mean, I think for guitar playing, I was influenced by a lot of jazz and rock and classical players, but nobody really in particular. I think as a kid, my favorite guitar player probably was Hendrix.
Sure. Any poets or authors that you really love the work that they do and might inspire you to write anything? Or?
When I was in school, I was very much inspired by a lot of the French writers, such as Lautréamont and all that surrealistic type poets.
Are there any bands out there right now that really impress you by what they're doing?
There's a French band called Le Tétinet Noire, and we're going to be working with them.
Okay.
They impress me a lot. They're quite creative.
What kind of sound do they have? Hard to describe, huh?
It's very difficult. I mean, some songs sort of might sound a little bit towards the Nine Inch Nails direction, and then some songs are just completely, from some other planet.
I was wondering, what album do you feel that you have done with Christian Death that is the most monumental? Is there one particular album that you think just outshines the rest of them?
That's a relative perspective, question. It depends on how you're looking at it. It depends on what I'm trying to outshine.
Sure.
Because I pick so many different topics. And,
right.
And the topics I usually go into full steam in it, and it's relative to what I'm trying to say. Emotionally, politically, spiritually.
Right.
At that time. And so the only thing that I can say is that there's a lot of records that I've been responsible, or at least work with, that I'm not satisfied with, in the fact that they weren't recorded properly.
Right.
Because of either lack of time or money. And that was discouraging to me. So I have a tendency to not listen to those records because it angers me that I was forced, to release records that
you didn't get to put all the time in.
Yeah, I didn't get to finish. And they're sort of half-assed, and so you can't explain to the people who buy the records that, well, this needed that and that needed this, and they just don't understand. And so even though many people will say to me, oh, my favorite record is this, and I think to myself, my God, how can you like that, but it's just purely, it's not really an artistic thing, it's a combination of all the different things that tell me that this is exactly what I want people to hear.
Sure. Unfortunately, like I said before, and since it's not released, I haven't heard the new album, but does Savan appear in this album? Does he do anything?
No.
No?
No.
He was about 6 when he recorded I Hate You, right? When he did that song?
5.
Yeah, what's that?
5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you encourage him, or that was something, did he show interest in recording a song?
I was in the studio. And he said, I wrote a song.
Really?
And I said, what's it about? And he said, it's about, there was this kid called Jamie, who had pushed him into a patch of stinging nettles, which is equivalent to poison ivy. And he had a rash over his whole body. And so he developed a severe form of hatred for a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And basically just, without being able to put it to pen, it memorized, a bunch of, sentences that he was singing constantly. And said, this is my song, and this is what I want to do. And so I was working on a bunch of different things, and I had a riff in my head, and I started jamming along with the riff. And I put it down on tape, and he started singing with it, and it worked. And so I said, well, how would you like that to be on the record? And he says, I'd love to.
That worked out really cool.
Yeah.
Does he have any desire to carry on in the music field?
He's actually working on, he's got his own little band at the moment. And when I say little, they're not really like doing anything. They're just sort of just jamming. But it's kind of like rap rock.
Okay, I wanted to ask, did you come from a very musical family? Because you're able to play so many instruments, and I was just wondering if it was in your family, or if how old were you when you decided that you wanted to just pick up and start playing some instruments?
Well, I was about 4 or 5 when I started playing drums. My mother and I had lived by ourselves. We lived in a sort of like a commune type of a thing, and yeah, I guess you could call it a commune. And there was lots of stuff going around, and my mother was what's the word? A performance artist.
Sure.
And most of the people that we were sharing with were black. And the main person who was influential in the group, especially with like meditation and a lot of the things that people did, was he was from Nigeria, and he was a drummer. And I was just totally enthralled by the guy.
Sure.
And so I started learning drums at that age from this guy. And it started out, I started learning, hand percussion things like congas and bongos and African drums. But he also played real drums, and he was very good at that. And I think I started officially taking lessons from him when I was like about 7. And then we moved away, and we ended up getting in touch with a friend of his who was a jazz drummer, and then I took more formal lessons from that guy when I was 9 or 10. And I continued playing drums until I continued playing drums as being the only commitment I had towards any instrument until I was 11. And that's when I started getting dissatisfied with the fact that I couldn't write songs on drums. I had all these melodies, but the tunes I was creating I used to tune my drums to individual notes and create melodies on the drums, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, so then you picked up the guitar?
No, I went into piano, and
Sure.
And then from there I went to bass guitar because it was easy, because my fingers, I struggled with the pain on my fingers because I had little fingers, and all the guitars that I kept using at that time were so cheap, and they had like a 3-inch action, which means that you had to press really hard just to get a sound out of the things. And I had no idea that it was due to the fact that the guitars were cheap and that my little fingers weren't strong enough to push them down, that I was having such a hard time playing the damn things. So then a friend of mine, a friend of my family's, gave me a bass guitar, and that was considerably easier to press down and get notes out of. So I just messed around with that until I was actually playing it. Then, I mean, I'd been in bands, but nothing that was ever really like a band that did songs or recorded or anything. And I've been in all kinds of situations where I played, and I played in front of audiences, I think the first audience I played in front of was as a drummer when I was 7. But I've done a lot of things with lots of different people under lots of circumstances, and I used to, when I first started playing bass, I was actually playing jazz. I was playing with like these old jazz guys and stuff, jamming in jazz clubs and stuff like that. I was too young to be there, and they'd sneak me in, and they just liked the way I played, and I learned a lot,
In your album, The Scripture, you have an excerpt from Nostradamus that talks about, in the year 1999, in 7 months, from the sky shall come the great King of Terror. And I was just curious, is this something that you believe, or do you find this just to be very interesting?
I think I've been captivated by that particular stanza since I was 12. My life has been revolving around that, because at that time I thought, shit, if this is a reality, then I'm never going to even be, I'll never even be a mature man. I'll never understand, just as my life is starting to take off, it'll be over.
Yeah.
That was where I kept thinking all the time, thinking that, I'll never even be a middle-aged man, let alone be an old man.
Never get to where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, so it had a big effect on me. But as the years have gone by and I've spent so much time studying many different topics around the world that involve the world's mortality, and everything from ozone layer to nuclear war. I've been looking into all the different aspects, and as we come closer to the years to that particular time,
right,
it seems more and more believable.
Yeah, it does.
The more I study it, it doesn't take me away from my, the only thing that I have learned that I am more confident about is that it's not what most people think, that it's the end of the world or that I would even die on that particular day. What I've come to learn is that will just be the beginning of a very momentous cataclysm.
Right.
It will take probably, anywhere up to 50 years to...
maybe 100 years.
Well, if we wanted to relate it to Nostradamus' predictions, which are in different quatrains in his Book of Centuries, is that he claims that the so-called quote-unquote, or his in references to Armageddon, that it would take 27 years for Armageddon to actually take place and culminate.
Oh, really?
And if you look at the Bible, it's 40 years.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that in that year that there's going to be a great big atomic war and that the whole world's going to be finished.
Just the beginning towards
and
the end.
also looking at the logistics of the way the world is and what an atomic war would be like, as I foresee it, that it's not going to be something that on that particular day that the whole world's finished either. I just don't see that that's a practical,
right,
outcome. So I just think that it's going to be the beginning of the word revelation would really come to be. It would be an awakening for most people to realize, shit, it's time for us to look at life differently.
Yeah.
And at that point, it will be those people who realize that the world is, is not really everything that they thought it was, like on television, and going to their 9-to-5 jobs, and their perspective of what happiness is and what reality is will change.
Right.
And yet, at the same time, a lot of people will die too.
Yeah.
It's not going to be everybody, but many, many people will die.
Sure.
And I foresee that the problems will begin in the Middle East.
Really?
And I think that it will probably be something like, I'm more inclined to believe that that some kind of nuclear device or germ warfare will take place in Israel on the Israeli people by Arabics, by an Arab nation. And my second choice would be some kind of catastrophe happening in the Far East. And as you look at the world climate right now, there's a lot of stuff happening with China.
Right.
And then before that, there was a lot of problems happening with North Vietnam. So North Vietnam and China are allies anyway. And they're the last major communist countries on the planet. So they're starting to fear their stability. And they're taking over Hong Kong through contract, and now they're making assertions toward Taiwan. And, wherever that leads, who knows. But I feel that, like the Middle East has nothing to do with China, so that there's not like any allies happening there. But if something was to happen and there was a world conflict, that I think that the Muslim nations would unite with, China.
Sure.
If there was any kind of like a global conflict where it was a question of sides, that China, if you remember during the Gulf War, China abstained
Right.
from any involvement whatsoever.
Christian, you deal with so many different religious topics throughout your albums, and I was just wondering, what is your religious standpoint, if you care to comment on that?
Well,
As far as what you consider yourself,
you see, I can't criticize anybody for their religious beliefs because everyone's religious beliefs are based on stuff that I can't disprove, so I can only give them the benefit of the doubt and say that everything they believe must be true until I can prove them otherwise.
Is there any religious people, no matter what it may be right now, that are speaking or whatever, that really, make you really understand what they're saying and you really agree with them?
religions are all, the most prominent modern religions that are all based on the same topic, which is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They're all from the same place. And so they're basically all saying the same thing with just a different slant. I'm more influenced by the more ancient pagan religions.
Sure.
And I like the philosophies of anything that grew out of the Brahmanistic world, which includes, Shintoism and Buddhism. And that's the philosophies I appreciate. Their perspectives of reality is another question, but I respect the philosophies. In fact, I respect the philosophies of all religions, because all religions want to promote, honesty and goodwill, and so I'm for that. It's just the way people abuse that, trust and the desire from most of their fellow man to want to believe in that sort of thing, and then they abuse it and use the fear of a God thing to control people. That's what I'm against. And ancient pagan religions, including American Indians and South American Indians, and religions that formerly existed in many of the countries in Europe. Ancient Egyptian beliefs, ancient Mesopotamian beliefs, all these things interest me. But any one particular thing, I've got my own religion, which I can't, write to you over the phone.
Oh, I respect that. Okay, would you care to talk about the breaking point that forced Roz out of Christian death? And left you in command?
For me, I don't really prefer to talk about the past of the band, because that's irrelevant to what I'm trying to get out in the future.
Right.
I don't want to promote people or even have their names come up in interviews anymore, because all I'm really doing is serving to promote these people who just want to live off of me like a parasite.
Right, that's what I've seen.
And, especially people who haven't even been in the band for more than 10 years.
Right.
Legally.
Now, it seems that the albums that you do tend to, like you said, you're interested in a lot of things, and it shows, the different styles that you have. Is this new album, Prophecies, is it anywhere near any of the other styles, or is this something that you're growing on and you're branching forward and, with a new whole forward aspect?
I think Prophecies encapsulates themes from every record I've ever made, as well as the future and where my musical tastes happen to be at this time.
Okay.
Because I've never just stopped liking where I've been or where I came from.
Sure.
Just, all I'm doing is adding to a growing repertoire of tastes that I'm acquiring.
Sure.
And it's just like, when I started out as a kid, the most exotic thing I could tell you that I liked was probably a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Whereas now, I like a multitude of international cuisines, and I'm comparing that as an analogy to my musical tastes. My musical tastes have broadened as I've
the more you've traveled
and grown, and so it has nothing to do with the current musical trends in the world. I hear things, I like the way they taste, and I want to continue eating them.
Sure. I don't know how you feel about this question. This is my last question here. I was just going to ask you did there ever come a point that you thought maybe you wanted to leave Christian Death and go on to do a different project?
Well, I am working on different projects all the time, but Christian Death and Pompeii 99, as it was, is really everything I have to say lyrically, so I don't see why I would even have an inclination to want to, not continue.
So you're working on other projects right now besides Christian Death?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you care to talk about any of them?
Like I said, I'm working with this French band. I'm working with another project with the same band members that we feel that it's far more negative and aggressive to be titled under the name Christian Death. And also another thing is that the press and too many people, unfortunately, categorize you. And
Right.
and it's not like we're, you know, if we were, I mean, anybody, whether you're Michael Jackson or not, people come to a conclusion about who or what you are, and they won't let you get out of that little boundary that they've locked you in.
Right.
So in order to be able to do something and see what people's reactions are without any preconceived, you know, impressions of what they expect, you have to give it a different name.
Sure.
And there's projects that we're doing and music that we're making and selling to record companies that we're not even saying that where we even came from or who we are.
Right. Just.
And we don't even want to tell people about it, because as soon as we say that, the word's out, and then everybody says, well, that's...
Well, you're gothic or something.
Yeah, well, that's Valor, and
That's
he
okay.
used to be in this and this, and so therefore you can expect that there's going to be some of that in there.
Right.
And whether there is, there isn't. Whether I mean, one of the projects we're working on, people says, yeah, I can hear some Christian death in there. Well, I don't really know if that's really from their heart that they heard that, or if that's just something
What
that
they knew.
They drew out of their, you know, expectations. And so I just like to see how people would react to something completely different that we're doing in a totally different market, and without anybody just saying, well, that's because.
Right.
You know, it's like if you have a new girlfriend, you wouldn't appreciate the spontaneity of that relationship if she was the girlfriend of your ex-girlfriend, and they were like having candid private conversations about every detail of your sex life and every detail of you, and every little nuance that they knew about you. Because she'd be sitting there saying, well, this is what I expected because so-and-so said that, or oh, this is more than I expected, I didn't expect that, but yeah, he's an asshole. And, you know, they'll formulate all those conclusions about you, and it's just not fair. Instead of, you know, looking at you through you know, through their own eyes instead of someone else's.
Sure.
And also people have a tendency to not want you to change. So therefore, if you do something that's radically different, they don't like it.
Right. Do you have a hard time getting people not to recognize you as being in Christian Death, or you know?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
No, we just have pseudonyms. Sort of like a lot of, you know, there was a lot of authors who had, you know, pen names and things, who were famous already in their own right, and wanted to, for the same exact reasons, would write a book and become a female or become a male, and with a different name, or to even just say that they were a male or female, just because of the perspective of people saying, well, this is by, you know, an author called Jane when the guy's actual name was Tom. You know, because like if a woman wrote a book about sex, people have a different attitude about it than a man.
Right.
So, yeah, that's all you do. And you have disguises, or you just, you know, have a totally different way of promoting and presenting yourself.
Sure. Well, if there's nothing else that you want to comment on, I believe that is all.
Like if I wanted to do a rap thing, and if I went out there as a white guy doing it,
people would look at you and
people would have a different perspective if I was some big black guy.
Right. Because they look at whites or something and say, oh, well, he shouldn't be rapping, he should stick to
And so
this
blacks
category.
do that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just giving you another example of how people
Sure.
perceive things, and that's really just not really fair.
People just put labels on everything.
Yeah. So I try to avoid all of that. I mean, I'm already stuck with it, everything I do in Christian Death anyway.
Right.
And I have to deal with it daily.
Well, that seems to be all the questions that I have. If there's no further comments.
Do you have an address for Christian Death in the U.S.?
I wanted to ask you, is the Christian Death book, is it finished yet?
I don't know if the Christian Death book will ever be finished, because it's like an unfolding story that just
keep
goes
continuing.
on. And the closer I come to finishing it is the further I come to finishing it.
Sure.
Because each time I pose a new set of questions, which is really what all it is, it's just a giant book of, it's just pages upon pages of questions with possible, not necessarily answers, but with possible alternatives or thoughts that ponder. Is really all it is. There's nothing in there that's definitively my beliefs. It's just a set of questions that makes me wonder. And by writing these questions down on paper, I would hope that it would inspire other people to ask these questions and maybe enlighten me somehow.
Sure.
But because I keep coming up with more questions, that I don't see how I can make it something that I can live with.
Right.
And so, for the people that we originally were going to sell it to, at one point I was finished and we had it in print, and I withdrew it from print, and people had placed orders. We told them, no, it's not going to happen. Here's your money back.
Yeah.
And so, you might have to wait until I'm an elderly gentleman before I might finish this.
Sure.
Then I'll have had some form of divine enlightenment where I can say, okay, I'm on my deathbed, and these are my final words. But if my powers of prophecy have any value, I'm a long way from that point.
We're real anxious to reading it too, but we'll wait to make it.
I think what I'm going to have to do to satisfy these people, put something out that has nothing to do, because I was writing it as the the ultimate viewpoint of everything that Christian death means, but that changes because who I am now is not what I was yesterday.
Right. Sure. So it'd be almost incomplete to just put it out now.
Well, there's actually. I met some people in Germany who are putting together a book, and they're calling it Christian Death. And they basically are just going to be putting just all kinds of things in it, whether it's photographs of posters and copies of artwork that has never been released, and stuff that's been released, interviews, lyrics, released and unreleased lyrics, and then their viewpoint. And that way I don't mind that, because then it's whatever they do is their point of view, and it's not me saying this is what I think. Because once I put my
your name to it,
and it's anything more than ambiguous, then I feel that I've locked myself into a world where I don't want to be a prisoner.
Right.
So if somebody else wants to take that commitment, it's fine by me. But I said to them, anything they do or write, they have to write to me first for editing approval, because if they've got things in there that I disagree with as being untrue or offensive, I'm not going to give them permission to continue.
Sure. Well, would you care to speak on anything else? Anything else in your mind?
Well, I could take the opportunity to say that I'm everything that anybody's ever perceived about how I view the world, in a positive sense. I would like them to continue thinking that that's the way I view the world.
Right.
In amongst all the negativity, which I like to upturn and make people aware of, that's my direction. I like to stir up as much shit as possible that we know where the shit exists.
Yeah.
In order to seek out, positiveness in the world.
Right.
You have to have, in a farm, you need manure in order for flowers to grow.
Right.
And so I'm still sort of cultivating the ground and all the shit that's in it. And anybody who has any hopes for us to there's many people who look to what we've done with Christian Death as a way of giving their life inspiration and direction, and I don't want people to give up on that. Sometimes I have reservations, and I stop doing particular things because I get the feeling that I'm leading people in a direction where they are really leading themselves and they're blaming me, and I don't want that responsibility.
Right.
So I just want people to use their own power of awareness and to take whatever I have to say as fuel that they can burn whenever they like, but to not hold me responsible for their happiness.
Right.
And on that particular note, if the readers, are aware of that, then I'm a lot more satisfied, because there's been too many people writing suicide notes
Yes.
to me, and I'm not Kurt Cobain, okay?
Right. Well, I just wanted to let you know I appreciate everything that you've done.